Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk, a literary podcast where we have been deep diving into your favorite novels.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
And our listeners love to share their thoughts and theories via email and voicemail, so we're sharing some of them via our weekly mini episodes.
The views expressed by the hosts and listeners are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel.
Spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, death, and depression will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to our mini episode series. During each mini, we'll be reading listener feedback and theories, as well as discussing all things Sarah J. Maas, including her ACOTAR, Crescent City, and Throne of Glass series.
Our first email for our mini episode comes from Tess. I strongly dislike Elaine. I know in season 2, inspecting her character and comparing her to Farah and being told how similar they are makes sense to me logically. I just don't like it. So here's my wild and crazy headcanon. Not sure if I used that phrase correctly. You did. Elaine has an evil arc. After coming out of the cauldron, she is suspected to have the gift of sight. What if she sees something so horrible in the future that it drives her crazy? She tries to stop it, but those are the events that cause her to be evil. Kind of like a WandaVision / Doctor Strange multiverse of madness situation. I feel like Elaine as a character is sort of like Moore. I know her time just hasn't come yet, but I just do not relate to her. She seems boring and a little spineless.
So we picked Tess's email because we often get asked the question of what do we think of Elaine with an evil arc?
Yeah.
And I know before we started dissecting Mist and Fury, we were like all on board for it. Mm-hmm. At least I was. I was like, oh, that would be so cool.
I think like pre-Mist and Fury, I could have seen it happening that way.
Right. And even after dissecting Mist and Fury and identifying the fact that Elaine has a certain strength about her and there's a lot that is veiled right now through Feyre's perspective, is it plausible that Elaine could have an evil arc in air quotations? Maybe not pure evil? But could she have a little bit of a downward spiral, hit a little bit of a slump? Totally, I think so.
Okay, logically speaking, every character has to have their low. Mm-hmm. Farah had one, Nesta had one. It's inevitable. It's going to come.
Right.
What does that low look like? Is it more of an emotional low? Is it something where she's in a depression? Or is it an evil low?
Right. I mean, Nesta chose drinking alcohol and taking all of Feyre's money.
Yeah.
And sleeping with a bunch of people.
Farah didn't eat.
Right.
And she had her own depression. But I feel like what this also means, and it's hard to predict evil Elaine, is that we haven't seen the thing that pushes Elaine low.
Right.
Yes, we saw it a little bit when she first became Fae. But you could argue that the reason why she was the way she was because no one understood her sight. Mm-hmm. So part of me says, yes, evil Elaine kind of makes sense because we haven't seen her progress, and that could be a natural low that's kind of given. But even then, she doesn't just go evil for no reason. It still has to be a thing. We haven't seen the thing that brings her down.
Right. If the thing that brings her down is, as Tess says, which is she sees something so horrible in the future, I don't know what that would have to be for her low to be evil or, maniacal or ill-spirited.
Yeah, it could be, go back to Twilight for me, or rather Breaking Dawn, when Alice and Jasper leave because she sees the future, but she goes to go get help, doesn't actually leave them. But again, I don't know. I don't think that would be the case. I think that there's a lot of, there's just so much setup that has to happen. Mm-hmm. We know, cool, I love the mini episodes because we already gave away the whole warning for spoilers. So, if you're here and you've ignored that,
that's on you.
That's on you. But you and I have talked about this where we can't even begin to fathom Elaine's story and her development because the third Crescent City book hasn't come out.
Right. And we don't know what's going to happen there and what Elaine's role is going to be in that, if at all. And that will impact what story she ends up having after Crescent City.
And it's going to be all through more Bryce's point of view, most likely, just because this isn't a ACOTAR book. So I doubt we're going to get many ACOTAR POVs. But logically speaking, things are going to happen on a broader fashion. Mm-hmm. Nothing crazy is going to develop. We're not going to see Elaine get with Azriel. We're not going to see all these things happen there. / I don't think Elaine's ever going to get with Azriel, but that's
for us to discuss in season 3. The next message we're going to discuss is from Willow. She sent us a message about a theory her sister sent her on TikTok. Now, about a theory my sister told me is about Elaine and Tamlin being mates, and Lucien understanding that the moment Nesta and Elaine are transformed as High Fae by the King of Hybern, this could be possible, I don't know. Elaine fits very well in the spring court if we think about it because of her interest in flowers and gardening. Maybe Lucien is protecting Elaine because he owes Feyre for what she went through under the mountain and because she saved the spring court. So we included this one as well because we also get asked this question a lot. What if Elaine is Tamlin's mate and Lucien's just covering for Tamlin?
Yeah.
Jack has...
Can I?
Yes, please.
Can I? Please, can I?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I hate to hail you guys. I really, really think that SJM has made it super... Only because, I want you to know, only because we've been doing such a hardcore analysis on Wings and Ruin. Otherwise, I would not feel this confident. But she is screaming at us that Elaine and Lucien are mates. And we talk about Elaine fitting in the spring court, but how about the fact that her name means light? And Lucien is probably heir to what court is he?
Day court.
Day court, which is light. And Elaine and Lucien's first name both means light.
Right. And just because Elaine likes gardening does not mean that she belongs in the spring court. That's a very superficial detail. Gardening can still be related to Lucien because of his association with the day court, the autumn court, the spring court. Yeah. It's just a very superficial detail.
We're not calling you superficial, guys.
We're not calling you superficial, but it's
a quick link. But when you think about it and you think about what is gardening, well, we all associate spring, but people garden all year long.
Right.
I'm not them, but I know it's done. I know people garden all year long.
Right.
I was shocked to find out that grapefruit were in season right now. That's a winter fruit. What? But you do garden. And I think that if we want to look into who Elaine is and why she is what she is, I think Elaine found beauty in a really dark place in her life. And that was with gardening. You're not going to get that with the spring court because it's already done.
And also think about Elaine's gardening from the perspective of her time at her father's estate in Mist and Fury. She gardened and would not allow the servants to garden for her.
Yeah, she liked the work.
She liked the work. That does not sound like Tamlin at all. He would not allow her to work.
And look, that's not a thing against Tamlin because I would love someone to not want me to work. But it's true. Are they equals? I don't see it. But Elaine is so equal to Lucien. They're so similar.
They do have a lot of similarities, even if I don't like to admit that. I do think that in some ways they're both willing to get their hands dirty. They're both willing to work.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Literally, Elaine does getting her hands dirty with gardening. Lucien gets his hands dirty by getting fish with his own hands for him and Feyre.
Yep.
He rolled up his sleeves. He did it.
Yeah, it's true.
In my mind, he was shirtless, but, whatever. Details.
was?
No, we made that up.
Oh, okay.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
The next is from Olivia. I think she, Elaine, is seen as incapable or boring because Farah and Nestor child handle her, and those are the only POVs we've gotten. I think her dealing the incapacitating blow to the King of Hybern was poignant. She mourned losing Grayson not only for the loss of life and love, but both her sisters and parents placed such a high value on her marrying someone of high value to their family because she was beautiful enough. Nesta was raised a social weapon, Farah a wild child, and Elaine an ornament.
I really liked what Olivia was saying, how, as we're going to see in season 3, and as we discuss Elaine's journey, she is heartbroken, or comes across as heartbroken, at losing her humanity, at losing Grayson and not being able to marry him. But is the act of marrying Grayson troubling to Elaine because she truly loved him, or because she failed her purpose? And I think that's a really deep question.
I'm going to throw another one out there. Or is Elaine getting visions of Grayson and seeing what he's really like?
Oh, interesting.
Maybe not because she's surprised with how he reacts to her. But, I feel like Elaine's just really wise when she becomes Fae.
Yeah.
I think she kind of has her shit together faster than Nesta and Farah.
I think so too. And only because I was working on episode 6 last night, there's something that Amryn says to Nesta that I think applies to Elaine. Amryn says to Nesta during their first dinner at the House of Wind, you did not fit the mold they gave you. You were forced to walk a path, and then that path changed. Yeah. And I feel like that's potentially also the case for Elaine, that she's been forced into a box, and she was like, this is my duty. I'm going to fulfill what's been required of me.
But here's the thing. It was never required of her. It was required of Nesta. Nesta's mother even tells her, you will marry to be a queen. Like, you will marry this. The firstborn daughter was the one who gets the pressure for that.
Right.
By the time that Elaine chooses to marry, they're so rich, they don't need to worry about it.
True, but to what extent is she worried Nesta will never do that, so I need to continue to secure?
I don't want to demean Elaine and think that she's not capable of thinking all of that. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to reach and think, they need to get their social standing back or something. And, she wants to do that. But I don't know. Elaine is so tricky because she's viewed in so many different ways that I can't quite get a hold of her.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, it's almost like, well, nothing's been asked of her. Like she got to do something. She gets to be in love with someone. But on the other hand, I think she's perceptive enough to know, here's what I need to do.
I'll be interested to see where our discussion about Elaine goes this season.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to take Elaine's book for us to really understand her.
Agreed. I totally cut off one of your questions. You're like, this is a deep question. And I said, here's a totally random thought, but
I don't remember it.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
This email is from Maylee. Okay, so there's not a ton of evidence to support this, but I'm convinced Rowan and Cormac were related. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of any other major SJM characters described as having silver hair like Rowan's. Cormac, despite being described as blonde by some, has hair described as molten metal, so like metallic blonde. I also don't believe it is ever explained as to why Cormac's codename is Silverbow and why he's called Silver by Sophie Renast. Cormac is also a crown prince, like Rowan. Again, not that there aren't any other crown princes, but I think that's just another teeny tiny clue that the Whitehorns and Avalon Fae are descendants of the same bloodline. If all three worlds collide, Avengers Endgame style, and Cormac somehow isn't actually dead, I think Rowan and Cormac will butt heads more than anyone else across worlds.
Obviously, I haven't read Throne of Glass, but I'm convinced.
Yeah, I have read Throne of Glass, and I am convinced. I mean, you got me on the hair color alone, and SJM doesn't let things like that go.
Right, those are always intentional.
Always intentional. Violet eyes.
Right.
If his hair is described as almost like metal, like blonde, then yeah, absolutely, I can see that. And even if they're not related, which honestly, I'm on board. I'm sold. We know there's going to be a connection. We know there's a connection between Throne of Glass and the Akatar world because of Rhys helping Aelin. We know that clearly Akatar and Crescent City world are connected. Mm-hmm. So, of course, Crescent City and Throne of Glass world are connected. We just don't know how.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't know why in my head I was like, that's right, chicken fight.
Because this has been sponsored by the Sexy Chicken Lingerie.
It's also too late at night for us to be recording.
Keeping all of that in.
Yeah. This email is from Grace. The two of you mentioned something about Nesta and Rhys being alike and Feyre's twisted mommy-daddy issues, and that made me think. I think amongst the sisters, Nesta is the most like their mother, Elaine is the most like their father, and Feyre is a mixture of the two. Feyre turns to the feminine when she feels safe and the masculine when she feels threatened. What if the Archeron father, whose behaviors included sitting idly by when they had nothing, and art, or wood carving, represents the feminine, and their mother, who was strategically minded and a huntress in the social realm, represents the masculine? When Feyre is threatened, she turns into her mother because her mother is associated with hunting due to their deal. And when Feyre is comfortable, she turns into her father, who is associated with comfort and luxury because she spent the most quality time with him while the Archerons had their fortune in her formative years. Feyre describes herself as a doe when she is embracing her father's characteristics, or the feminine. Feyre describes Elaine this way as well. Feyre describes herself as a wolf when she embraces her mother's characteristics, or the masculine, and she describes Nesta in this way also. Feyre describes herself as a bloodhound when these two sides are in harmony in the Summer Court, where she wields her femininity as a weapon, like you said. Bloodhounds are sweet dogs, but are also weapons in their own right. I think this is a happy medium that describes Feyre's true self, which is a mixture of the wolf and the doe. So Grace has basically just turned the idea of feminine and masculine on its head by claiming that the Archeron father represents the feminine, the Archeron mother represents the masculine, and it aligns with what we were saying of like Feyre trying to find balance, but by being the huntress, Feyre's being her mother, aka the masculine, and by being comfortable and allowing Tamlin to do the work, she becomes the feminine, aka her father.
Oh my god. It's
such an interesting way to look at
kind of what we define as masculine, feminine roles and kind of turn it on its head. It's fun because in episode 10, I don't know when this comes out in regards to episode 10, but in episode 10, I talk a little bit about that.
Oh, okay.
Of like SJM turning the definition of feminine and masculine around.
I don't know this.
Because we're prepping that later tonight. Who knows how the timeline this is. So
yeah.
But yeah, I love that. And it makes sense because Mama Archeron basically was teaching Nesta how to be the predator and hunt a good husband.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And Elaine is, I wouldn't say like her father, but we
Passive.
assume, passive like her father.
Yeah.
Which we assume is feminine.
Yep. I'm on board.
Yeah, I am too. Bravo.
Bravo.
Bravo, Grace. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's impressive.
I love a good tilt-a-whirl of gender and femininity
Yes.
and masculine.
Fantastic.
This email is from Allie. We all know that SJM loves to pull from fairy tales and myths, but this nickname might have been pulled from real-life events. I apologize to our listeners now, but I'm about to pronounce a Russian name, so here we go. We're all going on this journey together. Ludmila Mikhailovna Pavlikchenko was a Soviet sniper in the Red Army during World War II and was credited with 309 kills. Her nickname was Lady Death, and she was one of the most successful and feared female snipers in history. The Germans even tried to bribe her with promises of chocolate and making her a German soldier. Sorry, pause. Chocolate was their bribe?
Fucking lame.
What the chocolate was their bribe? Tell me you've never met a woman without telling me you've never met a woman. Cheese is the way you go. God damn it. Sexism, I tell you. Along with being a sniper, she was an advocate for women's rights, for women's equality, and eventually taught other soldiers how to shoot. She's the same age as Nesta, both in their early to mid-20s. This could totally be a coincidence, but the storyline runs a little parallel to the Valkyries, and with SJM, there's no coincidences. Hope you guys enjoyed my Easter egg.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I had no idea who Pavlichenko was.
And I think Lady Death is because that's what Nesta is called, right?
Right.
Like, it is such a specific nickname.
I feel like if you just do a Google search, there would be so many different references, but I feel like that's intentional.
Yeah. I mean, she could have been like, oh, this is a cool name, Googled it, and was like, oh, this is a cool story. Let me add aspects to it.
Exactly.
That I can see. But, and if none of that is true and it's just a happy coincidence.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great coincidence.
Still annoyed that she wasn't even offered pay.
Well, no, I mean, let's
soldier. You get to have a job, and your sign-on bonus is chocolate.
Would they have let her live, or would they have killed her? I bet they would have killed her.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great situation for any woman, but...
No.
I mean, we're proving that I definitely wouldn't have lived.
Here's my thing. What makes you think chocolate is enough in war?
Yeah. Watch, we're going to find out that it actually was some kind of...
It was probably a like
commodity.
A very rare commodity.
Yeah, super rare that people were willing to spend hundreds.
But you're willing to not only commit treason, go to the enemy's side, but think of all that they did. You're willing to morally switch sides for chocolate?
I mean, the more that we're talking about it...
Would you give your morality up for chocolate?
Maybe I'm just upset about the choice of chocolate.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower, above 40 gigabytes. See details.
This email is from Dana. Get ready for a boatload of Tamlin sympathy because, despite your thoughts, you do have some Tamlin sympathizers, which includes me. Not lover, mind you. I am not a Tamlin lover. I just have a habit of trying to see the good in people despite their flaws and actions.
I love this already so much. I know we do say we don't have any Tamlin lovers, but...
I'm glad you stuck around this long, Dana.
Bless.
I think Tamlin is an incredibly deep and flawed character with a lot of trauma, self-hatred, and stubbornness that warp his perspective of the world and himself. He was raised in an abusive household. His father allied with Hybern. He grew up around slaves and murderers and, overall, really abusive people. Amarantha, a mature, probably several hundred-year-old fae at the time, was lustful of Tamlin. She was lustful over a child. That alone is evidence of how awful his childhood was if he was a child victim to a predator. He most definitely hated his life and family. He was ashamed of it, which I think is shown by how he did not want the title of High Lord, how he spoke badly about his brothers and father, and how he became friends with Rhysand, a male who sided against his father in the war. And I know the fiddle thing is a little cheesy to many people. I think it's a little cheesy too, in fact. But the fact that Tamlin grew up in an abusive household and found love and peace through music says a lot about his character.
You're right. It could have been the triangle.
He was still peaceful at heart and craved something else. He wanted to join a traveling music band. He wanted to get out of his court so badly, but Tamlin instead became hard, cold, and stubborn. I think he was for a long time because of one catalyst moment, which was not Amarantha. What finally changed Tamlin was when he and Rhysand became High Lords. The destruction of his relationship with Rhys, with the blood feud, is vital to Tamlin's character. It was fucked up. It was awful to do that to a friend. However, I think it shows the family dynamic of Spring. I was always confused about how Tamlin's father found out about Rhys's family's whereabouts. I think Tamlin was not only tortured for it, but forced to follow his father like the soldier he was trained to be. Tamlin burned Rhys's mother's and sister's wings instead of keeping them as trophies, showing that he was ashamed and wanted to forget it had happened. He and Rhys could have gone to war over it, but they both said they were even, and Tamlin is just too stubborn to admit fault, but also too filled with self-hatred. He avoided the details of the blood feud when he told Feyre because he was ashamed. I think Tamlin helped Spring grow a little softer after the Human War. Spring was one of the main courts that fought against humans during the war. Tamlin's father and brothers, from Tamlin's description of them, were worse than Beren and his sons of Autumn. They enslaved humans. They sided with Hybern. However, after Tamlin became High Lord, and most notably during Amarantha's rule, Spring was significantly better. We saw plenty of times in the books that Lesser Fae mingle with High Fae in Spring. You guys mentioned this in one of your episodes. More evidence of this, Tamlin told Feyre that many courtiers of Spring refused to follow him when he became High Lord and left. I think because of Tamlin, Spring was finally able to leave the war behind. They were able to bury Tamlin's father, a slave owner and the antagonist during the war, and grow into something that was not filled with torture and enslavement. Overall, I think Tamlin really wanted love. I think that's all he wanted. There's no doubt that Tamlin was controlling, stubborn, abusive, closed-minded, and the list goes on and on. But a long time ago, before the blood feud, before he became High Lord, before Amarantha, he was just a boy who loved music and was trapped by an abusive family. He was trapped by rules he fought against, but that just ended up controlling and blinding him in the end.
Wow. So you and I, Amy, 100% look forward to the redemption arc that we're going to get eventually, because I have no doubt that we're going to get it. Doesn't mean Tamlin's going to get his own book, but he'll be a part of something. And we've both said that it'll be Nesta level emotional because of the sheer amount of self-hatred that he clearly has. And all the information that Dana laid out, and that was a lot of information, those are things that we know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Tamlin was tortured to go help kill Rhys's family, but I can say, yes, he was probably forced to do it.
Right. And we don't know when Amarantha's lust over Tamlin began, but I could see her being a predator.
Oh, I have no doubt. Yeah. Even if, like, she didn't start until he was grown, he's still a child that she saw grow up.
Yeah, which is gross.
It's so gross. It's so gross. So, like, we know there's a lot of issues, and I think at one point you and I do discuss, like, did Tamlin ever even love Feyre? Does he even know how to love? Does he know what love is?
Right.
And we don't think that he did in his own way and what he was capable of loving. He loved her in that way. But if SJM decides to give him a romantic arc, it'll be like I did not know what love was.
Yeah. I think SJM's going to have to do a lot of work for Tamlin to redeem him for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But what Dana's reminding us is that there is a lot of him that we forget that informs the decisions he's made.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, yeah, he was just a boy who loved music. Mm-hmm. And that's actually really heartbreaking to think about.
Just he's a boy in his triangle.
Just a boy in his triangle who has strayed very far from that triangle.
Into a fiddle. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it is heartbreaking where it's like he was artistic. You know, he wanted to enjoy the arts, enjoy the music, enjoy his passions. And that wasn't, I mean, and he wanted that to be his option. He's the youngest. He should be able to do that.
Right.
None of that was an option. And that does suck. And again, what he did was abusive. We are not forgiving or anything like that.
What he did wasn't great. But from Tamlin's perspective, he probably was thinking, I want to keep you safe because no one did that for me.
He was trying to think, what was it? Is a provider? What is a husband supposed to do? Protect and provide.
Right. Right.
And that's what, in his mind, he totally thought he was doing. Again, not excuse, like, we're not excusing him. We're just trying to analyze.
Right. And maybe eventually he will realize that his actions weren't acceptable and that just because he wanted certain things for himself at a time in his life where he was not protected by the ones he loved doesn't mean that his way of showing that love was acceptable.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, Tamlin, I see what you're trying to do.
You failed.
You failed. You know what he needs is like another Ouroboros.
Yeah. Oh, but he would go crazy.
Yeah, he would go crazy. So it's, I mean, a different one that doesn't make him crazy, but like
that helps him reach self-actualization, self-awareness.
I mean, ideally he does it on his own, but like he would need that level of pain.
Yeah.
What's hard about that also that other situation is that a character that hates themselves so much, pain's not even the answer. I'm excited because it's a complex character. And that's what I really do like about Tamlin quite a bit as a character. And the reason why, you know, I'm so stuck in the nitty gritty details of like, this was bad and abusive, but he didn't cross this particular line because there's a redemption arc coming. And SJM has set it up for such a difficult journey. And I look forward to it because I do trust her process with characters.
Yeah, I do too. And I really, really hope she sees it through.
Yeah. Yeah. And he doesn't need a mate in the end. Like you and I have said before, like his redemption doesn't mean love or happiness.
Right.
Doesn't even mean life.
What? No. It just means he learned his lesson.
And truly repented and expects nothing from it.
Yep.
And ideally, no women are hurt or sacrificed for that.
Absolutely.
However, I can give you a list of men I am willing to
Here are the men we can sacrifice.
Yep. Starting off with Baron.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this mini episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com or via our Camflare voicemail system. Please visit booktalkforbooktalk.com for more information.
You can also follow us on TikTok or Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye!
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.